You are, you know, gracious with your time, and Booked and I are honored to spend time with you. We will go back and forth. I have the pleasure of asking the first question.
Okay.
Lance, when did you decide to run for mayor, and who was part of that decision?
Oh, that's a great question. I started thinking about it at the end of 2019. I've been involved in politics for quite some time. My family's very involved in politics. And I've been in it long enough to be able to tell when an elected official is somewhat feeling as though they may not run again.
Yeah.
So I got that sense about Mayor Durkin in 2019. And then I began to ask questions. Is anyone preparing to step in case she doesn't run? So I asked questions all around the city and no answers. And then I did get some encouragement from one friend of mine who's a business owner, said that I should think about it. So then I talked to my wife, talked to my dad, prayed about it, and something said to go ahead and register your campaign. So I was actually the first one to register my campaign in February 2020.
Awesome.
And then, of course, after that, then things began to happen. So my hunch was correct that in November last year, Mayor Durkin decided not to run again. So I was already in the race running. And I got in because I have a passion for the people of Seattle. And doing my work over the 14 years I've been here in economic development, I've gotten to know businesses all over the city, communities all over the city, and I've worked with different segments of the population. And I really care about the people, their well-being, the quality of life. And I just felt that we could do a little bit better as far as leadership in City Hall. So I decided to offer myself as a candidate for mayor to try to change the atmosphere, to help us overcome challenges, and also to plot a new path forward with some new ideas and some new solutions.
Thank you.
In your opinion, what makes a good mayor? And can you name some examples of effective mayors?
Yes. Well, what makes a good mayor is a mayor that is collaborative with the city council, with the business community, large and small, and with communities all over the city. Being accessible, being in constant communication with those communities and those segments of the population to make sure that you understand what is going on the ground, and that helps you formulate the ideas of things that you need to try to do. Of course, a good mayor always takes care of the basic things: transportation, utilities, public safety, those type of things. And then you have the opportunity to help to build up the city by investing in other things like arts and culture, sports and those type of things. What also makes a good mayor is one that understands it's important to attend to the needs of the individual when they contact you. The worst thing you can do is get an email or a phone call and don't respond back. We work for the citizens. We are hired by the citizens when they vote for us, and they expect for us to communicate with them, and they expect us to take care of the business of the city. So effective mayors understand that. There are many, many examples. I have a lot of friends that are mayors around the country, and those in the past. I would say my favorite mayor that I sort of patterned my style behind is Maynard Jackson. He was the first black mayor of Atlanta. And what Maynard did was he created this philosophy when it came to equity and making sure everyone had opportunity. His philosophy was, if everyone doesn't make any money, nobody's going to make any money. And what he was basically saying is that we have to help one another be successful to be able to create wealth and have a good quality of life. And that was saying that the government can't do it alone. That means that the city is not just a city, but it's a community. And in the community, everyone is concerned about everyone's well-being. And we do things together to make sure everyone has a good quality of life and can create wealth for themselves. So that's what I think a good mayor would do.
Great.
Thank you.
Lance, we have a lot of questions. We always ask people to budget their time. So
Okay.
if there's a couple that you can knock out quickly, that's great.
All right.
What is a pressing issue facing Seattle that has not received enough attention thus far in the mayor's race?
The creative economy.
Creative economy, same
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, we have a lot of artists, musicians, venues that have been hit hard by COVID, and even before that, they begin to struggle. So we haven't really focused on the quality of life factor, because arts and culture and music, filmmaking is a very important part of Seattle.
Yep.
And we have not paid a lot of attention to that, but in my platform, I do pay a lot of attention to that and have a plan to try to revitalize the creative economy.
Thank you.
What's your personal relationship with Amazon as a consumer? Are you a Prime member? Are you a current or former employee, shareholder?
I am a Prime member and I'm a big fan. I don't believe that we should criticize any business in our community. I think Amazon is getting a lot of criticism, and I think that every business, large or small, should be celebrated and appreciated for the jobs they create and the contributions that they make to our economy.
So I'll follow up on that. You know, we are in a unique position in the Northwest with a really vibrant economy, but some people have brought to the attention the fact that Jeff Bezos does not pay taxes, where you and I probably have an effective tax rate, as does Bukta, of somewhere in 20% or more. There's also a tremendous accumulation of wealth and a dramatic growth in poverty and homelessness in our region. It is not a result of just one company's presence, but using Amazon as an example, they have a lot of power in the region, a lot of power in the country. Their leader at one point not paying taxes. What strategy would you have to address the growing inequalities we face here in Seattle?
Well, in my career in economic development, I understand how important it is for the government and the business community to work together. In many instances, when municipalities fall short of funding or they need assistance to get things done or to deal with issues, they go to the corporate community for direct donations to the city. And the reason why they do that is because if a corporate foundation or a corporation makes a donation directly to a city or municipality, it's considered as a donation to a nonprofit, which means that they write it off. So my strategy is not to be an enemy, not to impose taxes, but to maximize on building partnerships and relationships with not just Amazon, but all corporate entities in our city, so that when we do fall short with funding, that we go to them to plead our case and get those donations. That it will come directly to us, and then we can use those donations to handle some of the things we need to handle. State of Washington, there's no state income tax, there's no corporate income tax, but corporations do pay taxes. If they rent space, they pay what they call triple net on their lease rate, and part of that is paying the property tax of the building that they're in. The employees that they hire, they pay sales tax if they purchase something. If they have a house, they pay property taxes, they pay car tabs. So there are taxes that are being paid by our corporate community, but because our state does not have a uniform tax code, like an income tax or anything like that, it seems as though it's one-sided. So I hope the state will continue to come up with a tax code that's equitable, where everyone gets a chance to pay taxes, but based on your income, so that way everyone is paying their fair share. But until then, I'm going to capitalize on the partnerships as mayor and not beat them up, but embrace them, so that I can go to them and say, hey, we need some help.
Okay,
Please make a donation to the city.
What do you think is the best run department in the city of Seattle? And as our new mayor, which department will need attention and focus early on? Other than SPD, we're going to come back to that.
Right, the best run department, I would have to say, is our fire department. Our fire department is being very diverse in the things that they do. Not only do they keep people safe, they have great response times when it comes to fires. And they have this new program called, I think it's Medic One or something like that, where now they're going out with this vehicle to be able to help those with mental health issues on the streets. So what I like about them, their flexibility, their commitment to public safety, and their willingness to get involved in things. Plus, they do a good job in maintaining their budget, and they're just a delightful group of people to work with. I like the firemen a lot.
Excellent. Lance, New York City just finished a ranked choice election. If King County had ranked choice voting right now, and maybe thanks to Councilmember Zahale, we may soon, who would you pick as your number 2 for mayor? No explanation, just the name.
Art Langley.
Okay, thank you.
Shifting to policing, policing has become an extremely divisive issue in this community and around the country. So what do you think is a roadmap for policing that would be compelling to all of our communities in the city?
Two things. Internally, we need to put checks and balances within the police department, and what I want to focus on is what I call progressive discipline, which means that I want to be able to begin to remove police officers off the force that are not good officers before they get a chance to go out and commit an atrocity against the citizens. And through progressive discipline, you actually keep more records, you document more things to make sure that you're keeping track of their performance. And then you're able to make a decision pretty quick based on their performance. You may not be a good police officer, or you may not need to be on the force, so let's go ahead and remove you before you do something you shouldn't do, then replace you with someone who gets it. The other thing is community partnerships, community policing. It's very important for the community and the police officers to partner in order to prevent crime and to solve crime. Every community needs policing. Every community wants policing. In spite of what people say, every community wants policing, but we just want to make sure we have the right police officers there. And if they're not the right police officers, we want to make sure we get them off the force and replace them with the right police officers.
Thank you.
So if you become Mayor Randall, name a couple individuals whose counsel you would seek during the search for Seattle's next chief of police.
Well, before I do a search, there's some things we have to fix in City Council. As you know, what happened to our last police chief, there was, in my opinion, some bad decision making which caused us to lose our chief. And we haven't resolved the relationship between the mayor and council when it comes to situation where you're not happy with the performance of the police chiefs. And I think that until I get an understanding and we make sure that we address the salary change, because there was a salary adjustment, we have to position ourselves to be able to attract someone to be our police chief, and right now we're not in that position. So I want to move very quickly to make sure we get those things cleared up so that we can start doing that. And if I was consulting someone, to be NOBLE, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement.
Thank you.
What's your vision for building a more effective partnership between City of Seattle and King County and other cities in King County? How would you go about building a vision for a more cohesive and equitable region?
Well, as a mayor of the largest city in the region, I would like to approach all of my colleagues in the different other municipalities around the city for us to put together a mayor's roundtable where we would meet regularly to talk about regional issues, and we would meet regularly to talk about how we can support one another. Because in economic development, that's very important to make sure that Seattle is doing well, and when Seattle does well, the other municipalities, they do well. And when they do well, Seattle does well. So it's important for us to have constant communication and relationship to discuss regional issues and talk about strategies, how we're going to work together to do that. And we should not look at ourselves as the big player, but a good partner. Even though we're a large city, but we need to make sure that the other municipalities look at us on the same level, so we have a great partnership and that ability to work together on different issues.
Lance, what mid-size or small Seattle employer do you admire, and why, especially when it comes to their approach to equity, employment compensation, and diversity?
There's a company called Ivers, the Ivers restaurant chain. And the president is a guy named Bob Dunnigan, wonderful guy. I like the way that he treats his employees, gets them involved, gives them opportunity, is very diverse. And when we go to the different Ivers restaurants, it seems as if everybody knows his name, and when you say his name, they light up. That company values employees. They're very proactive when it comes to taking care of the employees, and they're very involved in the community. It's just a great company that provides great jobs for people around the city and great food.
If we talked to people who worked for you, what would they identify as your best and worst qualities as a leader and manager?
Well, the best quality is I'm very strategic and very direct, which means that I give everyone an opportunity to perform and do their best. And I don't micromanage, but I do have an expectation when it comes to deadlines and quality of the work. So I will give you the opportunity to express yourself, to be able to lead a project. And I want to be the coach. I want to be the resource to help you along the way. But if you tell me something that you're going to do, and when you're going to do it, and it doesn't happen, I will hold you accountable. Excuses are not, they're not a big thing with me. I think that if you or managing a project and you're handling a project and I entrust you to do it, then I have the expectation you're going to get it done. If not, then we deal with it. But at the same time, I do make myself available as a resource. So if you need help, let me know. But if you don't need help, I'm assuming that you have it under control and I expect it to come out the way that we agreed it would come out. And if it doesn't, then we have to have a conversation. So I'm pretty open-minded, but I know I have a responsibility to make sure what we're trying to do happens, and it's my responsibility. And I want to make sure it's done and done correctly and done on time.
Thank you.
Post-COVID, hopefully we're coming out of it, describe your strategies for a more equitable recovery. What does it look like? How would you go about rebuilding Seattle?
Well, I think going through COVID helped us see a lot of different things that was obviously inequitable. Mm-hmm. From the development policies, from the business perspective, opportunities for the communities of color. There's a lot of things that's been exposed. And I think the best way we're going to have to deal with that is we're going to have communities of color, people all over the city, to be sitting at the table when we begin the thinking process. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people come together and they think about, this is what we should do, and begin to start the process, and then they start bringing people along. No, we need to start from scratch on a lot of different things and bring the communities in up front and let them bring their perspective from their different communities as we sit down and try to put together a strategy to deal with whatever challenge we're going to deal with. So that comes with the development policies, that comes with business development, that comes with how we disperse our discretionary dollars with the city. There's just a lot of different things that have been exposed that we have an opportunity to reset. And I have some very specific ideas and solutions for us to be able to create a more equitable and more inclusive process when it comes to growing the city and making sure that everyone has the things they need, which is, of course, equity. That's what equity is all about.
Thank you, Lance.
What is your vision for how we can create a community where everyone belongs, the entire broad range of all the communities who live here?
Well, we are a major city, but we also have to look at ourselves as a community, which means that we have to have a concern for every part of the city. I always like to use the analogy, if South Park is not okay, which is a community, then Seward Park should not be okay. And they should say, what can we do to help South Park? If Rainier Beach is not okay, Ravenna should not feel okay, which means that they should say, what can we do to help Rainier Beach? That's community, which means that we all are concerned about our well-being, and we get involved in different things in different communities. One way to bring people together, of course, is through music events and also tourism, where we will be tourists in our own city, and we will encourage tourists to come to our city and to go out beyond downtown. Start in downtown, but then begin to venture out. And I think that they will see that we are a city of communities that care for one another and we support one another. And if someone is hurting in one community, we all step up and we converge on that community and say, how can we help this community, because it's part of our city. So a city of communities.
Thank you.
For the undecided or someone debating between you and another candidate, last question, why you?
Well, it's time for something new in Seattle. I was not born and raised in Seattle. I was born and raised in Georgia, but I spent time up and down the East Coast. So I have a different perspective on different ideas that we can tailor make for Seattle. And I think this is an opportune time now, coming out of COVID, to reset and come up with some different things. And then using my economic development skills, because I'm the only candidate that has formal training in economic development, and I'm a political scientist. And as you know, that's a very unusual combination with people running for office, where they clearly understand business and politics and how they have to work together. And what I've done is put together a platform with some very specific things and action items that will help us be a better city going forward as we come out. I'm the most, I've worked for every level of government, federal government all the way down to local government, economic development. I've worked on every part of the city, every business neighborhood. I have a lot of accomplishments, businesses I've located here, businesses I've helped keep here. And I think the city is ready for something new. It's time to give others an opportunity to lead. We cannot go forward in a new direction with the same leadership. And I commend my colleagues who are in the race who currently hold positions, who've held positions, and they're trying to hold on. I think it's time for the voters to get a different perspective, and that's what I'm bringing to the table. And I feel good about our chances, and I'm trusting that the voters will do their homework and say, you know, maybe it's time to do something different. Let's take a chance with Lance and see what we can do.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We know how busy you are and how much you're doing these days, so thank you for making the time.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks for the opportunity.